Hi everyone, and welcome to the TAMP podcast. In this series, we will be sitting down and discussing in depth all sorts of topics with people from all walks of life, from the worlds of journalism, music and film, the arts, athletes, business people. We plan to sit down and discuss current topics, personal journeys, and bring you what we feel is a nugget of truth in an increasingly surreal world. Stay tuned and watch what we have to offer, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channels.
Okay, guys, today's guest is nothing short of inspirational. I'm genuinely very grateful to have him here on the podcast. And I've no doubt there will be many viewers who will be touched and inspired by his story. He's a London-based entrepreneur who has founded one of the UK's leading tattoo parlors, frequented by many celebrities. He has set out to transform the tattoo industry both in the UK and internationally, and has recently stepped into the digital marketplace with the development of a new app he's going to tell us all about later. Kayhan Kiani, welcome to the TAMP podcast. Thank you. As I told you when I went to see you today, this podcast, I try and make it very personal, about experiences, about journeys. And I came across your journey, as I said, reading the Rolling Stone article, and it genuinely touched me. And I thought, this is inspiration. And so I decided to reach out to you. And I wanted to get you in here to tell your story to our viewers and listeners, and find out more. So much I want to go through. Let me start with this. It would be an understatement to say that you had an easy ride to get to where you are. Can we go right back to the beginning? Can you tell me about the arrival in the UK with the family? How far back can we go?
I came to London in 1999, and I was seven years old. My dad at the time already lived here, and he brought my mum and my younger sister over. The memories that I have of 5-6 years of being with my dad is really the rest of that. I looked time in the house, alcohol. You know, it's not a great memory, you know. But you know, I always, as you've seen the Rolling Stone article, I like to just tell the truth so everyone out there can understand, no matter what happens. You can't feel sorry for yourself, and you can't put yourself down and blame every negative thing that happens and why you're not successful and why you haven't taken the step to build something for you. You know? Yeah, it's not been easy. All I remember after 18, 19 is just rough, like living in Tottenham at the time as well. And it was around a lot of time.
Because when you got here, I'm guessing new culture, new language, new geography, everything.
It was like isolation. I remember being at school and not being able to communicate with anyone. And at the same time, everything that was going on at home, it was like, you know, you didn't have any friends. You couldn't be comfortable at home. So it was like, it was a lot. You know?
So you had no outlet and no breathing space, basically.
Yeah, basically. I remember like, we used to live in Olympia, Hammersmith, in a little flat right at the top. And I just remember days of just running out of the house, my mum and my sister, because either the house was burning or we smashed the house, or, you know, I'd be in my boxes and it's pouring down rain. And there'll be like, you know, families from school, something that they'll take us home and let us sleep there, you know, and it's, that's who I remember, literally opposite Olympia.
So there was, I'm curious, if we had to find out when you had like a community of people from the same background as you, or completely isolated?
You know, over the years, my mum, obviously because of what she was going through and what we were going through, she met a few other Persian families, you know, that understood, and they knew about what was happening, you know? And they would some days take us home, and, you know, and we're trying to help them in the best way they could.
I asked because it happened to be in our previous episode, we had Lisette on, who was from Canadian heritage, and her family came over with the Windrush era. Yeah. And that was she was discussing a lot about the importance of people coming over from the Caribbean at that time to the UK. He was talking about exactly that, the culture shock, geographical shock, but how important for them it was to build their community. And she said that it's that sense of community that supported them. And that's what it sounds like you didn't even have that. So it's kind of coming from outside, you get the culture shock, the language shock, the issues at home, and no comfort zone whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for the first 2-3 years, nobody really knew, and it was social services that, that would move us. I remember just our clothes just being in boxes. Yeah. A few bits of clothes that we had. And it was just like going from, every time something like that happened, it would move us. I mean, my mum at the time, believed in our culture, believed like you don't want to be with any man. And it's like, that's the kid's father, no matter what he's done, or take him back. But obviously that was a mistake because that made us go through everything.
I understand it's kind of like an old school honor.
Yeah.
It's in Latin America, it was very much like that historically before. Like, luckily things are changing now.
They don't do that now. Now it's like, if a man raises his hands on a woman for no reason, it's like, we're going to move on, and I believe that's the right thing to do. You don't need to be in something. There's a lot of, relationships now where, you can just not walk away from. If you've got kids and someone, you're still the father and you're still supportive. It's what I'm with at the moment. I'm not with the kid's mom, but we're like best friends. And we do everything, and it's like there's a schedule that we stick to, and we both hold our hands. And it's like, just because you don't get along, or it doesn't mean that the kids have to suffer, or you have to live life in 7 years.
I completely agree. I think what you're kind of getting at is that historically there was tradition and there was old school mentality with regards to couples.
Yeah.
That, they should never separate. The woman should tolerate the man no matter what. And I agree with you. I think times have changed for the better. And we are definitely moving in the right direction and in a better place.
For sure. Sure. It's like, as an example, it was like 10 years ago, it was only drug dealers and criminals that had tattoos. And now I see a lot of younger kids come in, like they're 21, 22. Their views that their parents come in with them. And they sit in the consultations that I do with them. And it's like, they're supporting them. I remember when I wanted to get a tattoo, I was 16. And my mum, the first tattoo I had was, you could just see it around my neck. I sat at the dinner table and she smashed a plate on my head with the food in it. And she was like, it's against our culture.
Oh, wow.
It's against the religion because I'm a Muslim. But it's like she's seen only those bad people that had the tattoos, but I'm trying to explain to her it's changed. Anyway, the next week I went and got another tattoo, but it was her name and my sister's name on my neck with 2 furs.
And she was like, all right.
And she cried and she slapped me, or she cried. And then eventually she lost track. Times have changed. It's like now, if you don't have a tattoo, people are looking at you like, where are you living?
I would say footballers have a big impact on this. I think David Beckham, obviously loads of footballers have tattoos, but iconic individuals having tattoos changes perception. Perception has changed a lot. I remember my family were too impressed with me getting mine. But times changed. I think they are more acceptable now. I once read a quote you said about body art being art, and it reminded me that I really believe the body is a canvas. Yeah. And essentially, you can express whatever you want to. Some tattoos have meaning, some don't. But for me, it's just a case of art. Right. Art for the sake of it. So just going back to your upbringing and the difficulties you were facing, how important is community, your immediate surroundings, on affecting how you grow up, both geographical and obviously people?
As I said, for a long time, it was, I don't know, me and my sister, we're going to have friends. So it was like, you're going into school. I remember social workers walking us into a school. Lunchtime, and we were like, oh, this is your new school. We'd know it's explanation. And, 2 weeks later, we'll be in Nottingham and then in Brighton. And it's just like, we never had the time to connect with anyone until, they moved us into a house in N17 top, right next to the stadium, which is changed now. But back then it was a very rough area, just like Brixton used to be, a lot of parts of Hackney used to be. And it was, not having the father figure and growing up to feel like mum hasn't got money, we need to do something about this. You get dragged into a certain lifestyle as a boy or man, you feel like you want to help, and you got dragged into the wrong groups, and I was made to do certain things that I wouldn't say I'm ashamed of now, but I regret now. And it's, the community, the environment.
Yeah,
The environment.
exactly.
Yeah, it's what's kind of shaped me.
So it was almost like the lack of guidance and the lack of support around you, which led you to take the path you did.
Yeah.
And I think this is interesting. Obviously, I'll go on to it later, but being a new father myself, and you're a father as well, is how do we think about this for our own children and the importance of what we teach and surround them with? That's why I ask questions like this, because it's almost, I'm curious as to how we develop the next generations.
So I've kind of been through this with my younger sister. She's 4 years younger than me. And it just shows, if you was to test, right, if you're a scientist, you're testing certain things and you had 2 test subjects. One was my sister, one was me, and I was always out around the wrong people in Tottenham. She was never allowed out. I wouldn't let her out because I knew what was out. We used to drop her to school, pick her up from school. I used to go to school, come back. Even until she used to go, she got a scholarship to Latin private school. And it was, even then, I used to pick her up, or my mum used to go and pick her up, because we didn't want her crossing paths with people that can, lead her astray, or, be around certain people that can make her smoke or do drugs. And yeah, she turned out to be a doctor. Then she done a dentistry, and she's a dentist. And now she just got married. She's happy.
This is fascinating. So you were telling me how you didn't have this father guiding figure. You became that figure for your sister.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that protected her.
Yeah. So I wouldn't let her out of the house. I would tell her that when you get home, you spend an hour, recap your homework. And yeah, that's what I used to do with her. And it worked. So going back to your question now, with my kids, I'm taking football, I'm taking gymnastics, they have a routine. And it's like my son plays football 5 days a week. And it's keeping that constant, guidance or taking them to places where they're going to feel like, all right, this is the way it is. My dad drops me, or my mum drops me, they pick me up. If you go to the park, you take them. Even at 7 years old, my son's 7, my daughter's 6. There are kids in the park next to our house that are 6, 7, and they're riding their bikes alone. Like their mum and dad's not there. It's like, those are the things that I'm focused on doing. So as they grow older, they're not pulled into different groups. They're like, let's go and smoke. Let's go and burn this motorbike or burn that car or break into the shop. Those are the things that I don't watch out. So
it's interesting. My partner, she shares exactly the same mentality as you. When she sees the kids around here young, she's from Brazil. And when I was growing up, my dad would pick me up, take me to school every day. So she's kind of shocked at how kids just wandering around the city at such a young age by themselves. She's like, I'm not going to be motherless.
You see on the bus as well. You see sometimes on the train, on the bus, on the street, when there's groups of kids, they don't know any better but to cause trouble, even if they don't think it's trouble or something like that. I just believe in they're on a course, they're on a track, and just guiding them all the way till they their mentality is, or their mind is capable of making the right decisions, and then you let them go, you know?
But at the same time, it's interesting. I think it's also important to give kids a little bit of space to kind of screw up every now and then. Because I fear we can go down the opposite route. And this is where balance comes in, where if we don't give them enough freedom to express themselves and make a bit of a mess and break a bone or be a little bit rebellious,
Yeah.
we're kind of repressing a lot of that. And it might come out later. I'm just throwing this out there,
Of course.
because I think it's important for kids to, be kids.
Of course. But it's not so much the being a kid part. It's more being in a certain area around the wrong people, because I know for facts the wrong people took me down the wrong path. It's not that I regret it, because it's made me who I am, But in saying that, maybe if I didn't end up where I ended up, I could have done these things sooner, But again, it's not so much the breaking of bones, or when they go to football, I let them play, socialise with their friends, and they push each other, they kick each other. It's like, you let them do that. They go to school, but it's just the places they don't need to be by themselves is more what
And keeping an eye on them.
yeah.
Now, you've been very open about your past, having spent some time in prison. What I find fascinating is how that led you to essentially turn everything around. And I just want to say this because I know from research that here in the UK, reoffending rates are between 34 and 59%. And it's well known that once people enter a life cycle of crime, it becomes harder and harder to break through. You did it. You managed. How did you decide, or how did you manage that?
It was, even when I was inside, I went away when I was 20 or 21, and it was the first year. There was a lot of fighting. There was, I was always in solitary and no TV, no radio, because I was adjusting. And then after that, it was, good behavior, doing courses. I did a cookery course, I did a PT course, and got a few qualifications, just trying to gauge where I'm going to end up when I come out, because I can't do the same things. And seeing my mum and my sister come on these visits, and they're always crying, and obviously they're upset. I didn't want that to happen again, so it was, you're in a room, especially when I was in Belmarsh, it's double A cap. You're in there 23 hours of the day. So it's like 23 hours a day, you're either reading, or you're looking at yourself from outside of your own body, and you're trying to understand how you ended up here. What are you going to do that's not going to bring you back? It's very easy to end up back there, because in there, 90% of people are exchanging numbers. They're like, where'd you get this, and what do you do with that, and this, and when we come out, let's do this. And, it's like, it's a cycle. And the day I came out, it was literally everyone's numbers. You don't want to be rude and write people's numbers down, or don't write them down. I just tore up the phone book and said, you know what, this is fresh. Even the friends that I had before, I no longer want to be, in contact with those people that, that could make me end up in a certain place. So it was fresh start. It was like you're born again. And like I said, I had about 17 business plans. And I came out for a barber shop, for a restaurant, for this, for that. And my mom put me in contact with one of my good friends now. He's one of the artists in the studio. His name's Aras. And he was tattooing at home at the time. And he was like, he did my whole sleeve. And I was like, why are you tattooing from home? His English wasn't great, it's also a Persian word. He's like, I don't have the money to open the shop. And I think people have suggested it, but they've never taken action. I said, look, I'm personal training, I've saved a little bit of money, we can open a small shop. If you want to money, you can do it today. He's like, I don't have the money at the time. Be open and I won't lift. So that was the plans when I came out. And it was a scary time. You know?
I can imagine the spirit, because as you said, it's so easy to fall back into the trap. Statistics show it is difficult to break free from a cycle.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing is, correct me if I'm wrong, it was your mum and your sister that gave you the strength.
I would say at the time, yeah, it was seeing my mum and my sister in that way, which made me realize this is not me. You know, and I just needed to change something.
Which is just a reminder of the importance of family. And I think the older I get, at least, the more you realize that everything around you is perishable, even we are. And then you start to value the more simple things, you know, and immediate family around you, and the partner, the children. At least that's happening to me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something here. What advice would you give to someone who either is or has gone the same experience as you?
You know, doing a lot of these interviews with Girls and GQ and Rolling Stone, I've always said the same thing, and it's I want this to be motivation for everyone else that can look back at their lives and say, I've been to prison, no one's giving me a job. There's no other route to take. And it's just people that need to understand, you know, whatever's happening at any age, if you just sit down and focus and have the discipline to take the baby steps, whether it's your own business, whether you want to create a brand, whatever you want to do, you can do it. All you've got to do is just plan and just have the discipline to get it done. And some people, they look at, you go to the store, they look at the shop and they're like, this guy probably spent $1 million, $2 million in a store. I didn't start. You know, the initial store was like, you could just about fit 2 tattoo beds in it. And they had stickers on the wall and it wasn't high end. People thought it was a barber shop in the first place. I was just testing the waters. I've never opened a tattoo studio. I just did it because, you know, I love tattooing again. The message is just ensure you separate whoever it is. If it's family, that's, you know, that's not good for you. Separate and just focus and try to see where you could be. Because I did see where
you visualized it,
yeah,
and then you work towards it using, as you said, discipline and hard work.
exactly.
I still think that I know I go on a lot about support networks and the environment, but I just feel that it's really important. And I'm curious whether when you were inside, did you have support? Were there any incentives to train? You said you did some courses.
Yeah.
Did you feel there were options?
Support network, I would say there are courses, you know, whereas if you want to go to the gym, to some extent there is gym facilities, you can go in the gym. Not so much in Belmont is strictly lockdown. And if they have staff, they'll let you know. Some days you should go on. But in regards to courses, as you go to a BCAT or a CCAT, you know, in prison BCAT, because there are more things, you know, that you can access. I can only do, you know, the training course on daily basis. So once a month, twice a month, they'll let you know to go to a gym, to sit down and do exams and become a PC. I mean, yeah, one of the things I found that was quite helpful is this lady that used to teach in Belmont. And she's quite attractive, so all the guys used to sit down and talk about their next move. You know, like Pinky in the Brain, how we're going to take over the world. And they used to sit down and talk about where they're from and why they're in and how they can connect and make more money when they come out through crime. And it was me and another guy, it's another African gentleman that was in there, and he was from Canada. We used to sit with her and get her to print business business plans, and then we used to just get her to help us fill it out. And then she would give us like books of pricing, business trades. This is the place I kind of learned about these things.
So, moving on to lighter topics, this is what I wanted to talk about. Ings. You said you founded it in 2018. It's now being valued, if I'm right, it's been valued at over £2 million. You told us where the idea came from. Now, for example, I had the idea for this. If I didn't have help from my family at the time, I wouldn't have been able to open this, at least not in the place where it is now. What? Because I had to put money from help from my family together with money from the bank, which then allowed me to do it. How do you get from, you kind of started telling us the way the business developed, as it started with a small shop. And how do you go from idea to business?
Idea to business is, you know, when you've been in a place where it's like you have one more chance, you come out with that energy. It's like if you cage a dog for a year, that dog will come out and it will just want to buy everything. And it's like I came out with that same energy, and it's like I was on parole at the time. I had to sign on every day. I wanted to get a job. I worked at a kids' play center. I was a tiger. I was dressed as a tiger, getting bottles. Saved a bit of money there. At the time, I was living at my mum's as well for about, I think, 6 to 8 months. It's just understanding that this is it now. There is no, what are you going to do? You know, you've been held back for so much 6.5 years. It's now time. And you've been itching for this day or now this release. And I remember going straight into PTing. You know, they put me on the gym floor to go speak to people, pick up clients, did that. Saved a bit of money, I think it was £17,000. It just wasn't enough. And at the time, I had an American Express gold card. And it was like, somehow I figured how to buy something of myself on eBay for 20 grand. And I sent it. I knew it wasn't the right thing, but I really needed this. And I had nobody else to get this. You know, my mom not really working. You know, my sister was studying at the time. There's nobody else that could lend me that for my idea. Anyone you go to anyway, you're going to be like, you've got a logo. Where's everything else? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I added that 20 grand and sent it to my PayPal, withdrew it. Found the shop and just went through the process, not knowing, trial and error. And and then about 2 months later, they were like, oh, you need to pay this 20 grand back. I was like, no problem. We weren't making any money. I was still eating at the time, so I set up an installment, £500 a month. I was paying them back, but I knew I needed that money. You know, so yeah, I got the funds together, opened the shop, and I'll say about a year later, we started making some.
It's interesting because I was going to say that luck plays a role. And for example, I opened this because I had the luck of being able to have the family to help me. It's similar to you. I needed 25 grand for my family, and I got 25 grand to the bank. And I always say it was a bit difficult for me to tell people, yeah, anyone can do it, when not anyone had what I have. I think that would be arrogant, isn't it, right? You've just showed me that you absolutely can do it. I mean, I'm not advising people to do that. But you just proved to me that, okay, you know, it's interesting. It's like people say entrepreneurs, they're kind of born that way. And it's like you clearly did what you needed to make it happen.
I'll be honest with you. If entrepreneurs want to be honest, right? If they never got the money from mom and dad, they did something that wasn't 100% right to get the money because they knew that they're going to create something and they have to. This is their chance. And it's that mentality that I've got this one shot. It's like 8 Man.
Yeah.
And my name's 8 Man. And you're like, this one opportunity now for me to do something. And people have to understand it's insanity. It's not that, is it going to work? Because I promise you, I could have quit a million times in the first 20 years because we just wasn't making any money. But if you stay consistent, as you know, as a business owner, here, there, every week, every month, maybe once a year, something will trigger. You keep coming in here and you start looking at things like, let's do this. And that one thing that you do new will generate revenue. And it will start going into the profit side. And if you do it correctly, you can open up the other stores.
It's like what we were saying earlier about the products I introduced. I had an idea for this. I wanted to get purist. And then we ended up, realizing, well, hang on. If I'm going to stay a purist, I'm going to lose customers to Starbucks and Zero and Gales purely because I want to be a purist. And there's no point in being a poor purist.
To sum up the answer to your original question, I would say take the risks. Don't be scared to take risks. That's it.
It is. It's all about this. Now, I was going to ask you what sets Ink apart from other tattoo parlors in London, but I went there today and I was very impressed. You've got, obviously, how many tattoo beds have you got there?
Upstairs, you're okay. Downstairs, we can probably fit somewhere.
And you've also got a barber shop.
Yeah.
You've got the pool table upstairs. You've got the VIP room downstairs. You've got a bar, which apparently you built yourself.
Yeah.
I noticed a few other things lying around. The award from the London Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Nice touch. Anthony Joshua's boxing glove.
Yeah.
Sneakers, merch. I forgot you got the laser removal. And guys, for anyone watching, or if you ever go to this tattoo parlor, I know it's not the main selling point, but those toilets.
Yeah.
Seriously. Those are the nicest toilets I think I've ever seen.
It's not nice too.
Amazing, man. Amazing. You've gone all out. I mean, you're encompassing everything.
Yeah. I spent, a lot of time and a lot of money because, that's like my baby. And it was it was the idea that took me from doing the wrong things or going back into doing the wrong things to now being comfortable enough, wherever I go, I can buy or spend how hours, and I never have to tell my kids no. Sometimes I do though, because I don't want to do
exactly, yeah.
for sure, yeah. But it's like you have that financial freedom, and that's what I've always wanted. I remember being in prison and this is a canvas in the store. I don't know if you saw it, but all the canvases are stolen. And there's this one that I'm on the prison day, and then there's a guard behind me, and then there's a little piece of paper. I'll send it to you. It's on the top left. There's the tuna cans, and it says the ink's blank. And then there's the Rolls Royce door.
And that was the birth.
And that was like the idea. And the positive energy that I wanted to feed in, because I knew it's gonna win. There's no other option.
Did I read correctly that you secured the first tattoo license in the Middle East?
We're in the process. So they gave me a tattoo license for temporary tattoos. Right?
Okay.
We're in the process of, as you know, is haram. Some philosophers say it's haram. Some imams say it's not haram. So it's speculations.
So you have to understand what is haram?
Haram is forbidden.
Oh, okay.
So it's forbidden. They want them to go back to Allah the same way you were born. And my argument is, with the laser technology, we can send you back to your God, right? And hold you respect the same way you did. That was many years ago when you didn't have the laser technology and you couldn't really tattoos. So
Tell me about tattoo removal. How hard is it? I think I once, maybe like 10 years ago, went for one tattoo removal session once to get something done. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. How's it evolved?
Yeah. So now it's not as painful as it was before. It's super fast. So if you was to come in to get a big tattoo, like 5 minutes, you zap it, you come back in 3-4 weeks time, do the same thing, and eventually it goes.
Because I'm guessing that with the rise of tattoos, and as you said earlier, they're far more accepted in society. Everyone's getting them done. There are going to be loads of people who get to the point who go, actually, I don't want to see them.
There's a lot of people like that.
And you're saying technology has advanced to the point where they can be completely real.
Completely removed. You know, and now that obviously there's tattoo studios and artists like us around, people now look at other people's tattoos and they're like, my tattoo's awful. So I want to go and remove that and start again with professionals.
I've actually got that in the back of my mind for myself. But yeah.
So laser tattoo removal business is big business, for sure. Yeah, there's endless amount of tattoo filming.
And with regards to moving into the Middle East, are there any other countries you imagine you might want to expand into?
Do you know what? I've already opened Instagram accounts because I like to pre-plan for New York, Paris, Sydney. Yeah, there's just a few that I can know off the top of my head. But we do have plans, but I really like to be in my store every day.
Uh-huh.
Right, and I'm that type of guy. If I have a business, I'm not going to go away and just let people manage it. Even though I have amazing staff that do manage it, but I love to be there. Like I said, it's my baby. And if I ever open one in a different country, it will be with somebody that's brought in and they are capable of managing at the same time.
Or would you consider like franchise business model option?
Yeah, of course. You know, as long as, again, it will be, you know, people will be sat down with, it's not just anyone that brings money, because they don't even know.
Yeah.
It'll be someone that, you know, that really loves tattoos and wants to franchise it out and keep in line with
your beliefs, with your business model, with what you set up, which what led you to be where you are in the first place. It's the same as me. I wouldn't want someone working here or running this place who didn't share the same values on business. So I do. I think it's dangerous. I mean, don't get me wrong, people do it. Yeah, I just haven't done it. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier to me when we first reached out, you wanted to mention about the new app.
Price, PRIC'. As you know, all of my brands are Laser London, apostrophe, Trim London, the barbershop, Laser London, Laser Tattoo removal, and inks. You know, again, all of them are under the same umbrella. But what we've done with Price is Price is the solution to the problem that I've been having with inks for the past 7 years. Since we are, and you know, you can't just go online with any tattoo studio around the world and just book in a tattoo because they need information. And it's a lot of headache when someone pays a deposit for you to understand actually you can't do that style or you don't need the budget. You know, what Price does is allows end users to go on a link, male, female, skin tone, a 3D model will show, and then they can upload their designs, and then they can add multiple designs and live pricing will show, and then they, you know, they can
They can literally see the design. No,
3D model.
That's amazing.
So they're able to scale down if it doesn't meet their budget. So that communication, most of my artists are like, I don't have a life. Well, not my artists, because we have exceptions, but most artists that are new in my story, they're like, before we came to this, we have to communicate back and forth, hours and hours, for one design, and then at the end to understand this person doesn't even meet the budget. They thought they can get a whole sleeve for £100. Now, when you send the link, someone that wants to book in, send the link to this booking form, right? They're able to go on that 3D model, they're able to put the designs on. If it shows it's too expensive, they can scale down. And another issue that we have is when we ask, how big do you want this tattoo? They're like, medium. Your medium to my medium is very different. We ask for centimeters. Some people don't have a ruler, but they can visually see how they want it on their arm. on their shoulders or on their back. They scale it up, doesn't meet my budget. All right, I'll put it on my chest, I'll do it a little bit smaller. Now it meets my budget. Go to the next step, see the diary. You're looking, the deposit comes in, you've taken away the receptionist, you've taken away what needs turning cold, right? It's a big
And the awkwardness of misjudgment and misunderstandings from customers perspective. Well, as I said, people who just have no idea about size or budget or price or style. Hi, you sound just like a serial entrepreneur, basically. You see an issue that needs solving and you solve it.
Do you know what it is? Even within it, I told you when we first came in the morning, I never opened it because I'm a tattoo artist or want to be a tattoo artist. I've never tattooed a client. More for me, it was going to dark, dingy tattoo studios, places that stunk of alcohol, stunk of weed, playing gothic rock music. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but when you're having a tattoo done and you're in pain and they're playing that loud music next to you, it's just like you don't want to be there. That experiences made me think I can do the creatives. And 7 years later now, we're number one.
And I can see why, because seriously, congratulations on what you built, because I've never seen a tattoo product in my life. And I think so too. So, serious.
We are the biggest and we've got the highest price volume. So, yeah.
Well, I really, really hope that, as you said, that these ideas and these Instagrams become reality. Because I can visualize it in New York, in Paris, I can see it. It's something that just makes sense in your head. You can visualize it quite easily. There's just one other area I want to ask you about, because, as I mentioned earlier, this is something which is relevant to me, and I like to bring it up with all fathers, because I'm a recently new father myself. Congratulations, thank you. And I always like to discuss fatherhood, because I feel for me, it definitely changed me.
Yeah. A boy or girl?
I've got a little girl.
Little girl, so you become softer.
I was also. Well, I did look at her, I was also.
Okay.
I can't really describe how it changed. It's just that transition of you always think about yourself, what I want to wear, what I want to dress, how much money I want to make my bills. Yes. And then suddenly, it's not about you at all.
Yeah.
You've got to keep this little thing alive. Yeah, right?
Not only alive.
Yeah. And then feed it and then stop it from hurting itself for the next 4 years. And then educate it. So I always like to ask, what does fatherhood mean to you? Because you shared with me you're a father, right?
Yeah. I've got my daughter, Aria. I've got a portrait.
Okay. Nice.
And then I've got my son, Cairo. And then, so how I would describe it is with my son, I want him to understand that, there's struggles and he's got to be a man. So I'm a bit rougher with him. With my daughter, it's like, I'm the biggest soft. I sit down, I lie down on the floor, I play Barbies with her.
I'm not.
Yeah. So it's, with the kids, it's like, you understand, what we believe in my culture is like, when kids come, more doors open. And it's like more blessings will come. More opportunities will come, and you just got to take for them. And what I would always say is, just enjoy your time with them, because you're going to get to a point where, how old are you now?
43.
Okay. If you was to remember just 10 memories in the 43 years, right? You will kind of struggle if you say, what were the best 10 memories in 43 years?
I would have to think about it.
You will think about it. Just 10, right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine how fast that's gone. And in 43 years' time, you're 86, right? So how I look at it is like, you just got to slow things down. Even though you want to get money, you want to provide this and that for them. But it's like, sometimes, this is a reminder to myself as well, because I do it. And it's like, you just got to slow down and just enjoy it. When you're taking them to football, you're taking them to gymnastics, and there's nothing more beautiful than watching them improving and progressing and seeing their little minds, learn new things and the new things they say. Yours doesn't start talking.
She's got a few words. Mommy, daddy. She says Simba, our dog.
You know, the most beautiful things are when they start saying things, you're like, where did you learn that from? You know what I mean? It's like such a surprise, such a shock. But you see the development and it's just beautiful.
What would you say are the highest, the highlights of your journey as a business owner, setting up a business from idea to today? What? Because I know it's hard, right? Like, I know you said there are days you did go, days you could quit. I have the same. It's really hard. So we all know there are the tough times, and I think it's important to share with people, especially anyone who thinks that opening a business is easy. It's not.
It's slavery, for sure. When it's 9 to 5, you go in and you come out and then you got your life. But you know, when you've got a business and it's in the first 5, 6, 7 years, depending on where you are, it's like you never stop. Maybe I should stop sometimes, but it's like you never stop thinking about how can I develop, you know? And I've got amazing staff. You know, without them, obviously, I would never be here anyway. But it's like trying to gauge the different brains. You have a coffee maker, right?
We're baristas. Yeah, we got 3.
So how many people work?
So we got 3 baristas and 1 chef.
So on a daily basis, just speaking to them, I'm not even saying meetings, you know, but just gauging their brains, like, what do you think we should do, like, sign-wise, or attracting more customers, or maybe doing an event once a week, or maybe, like, these little things, gauging, because 4 minds are better than 2 minds, and 2 are better than 1 mind. So it's like understanding that it's a journey, and
I see what you're saying. And you said to also other members of the staff, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to give us a different perspective. If we've always got our own perspective, sometimes one of the dangers, or I speak for myself, I've had in the past, is I always thought I knew what was the best idea. Yeah. I think that's very arrogant, very dangerous.
what was that when I first started as well?
I think we all are, aren't we? We're like, yeah, I know this is what, I know this is best. And it's quite difficult to take other people's perspective. Which is why I think it's fascinating that you say it's important to actually actively seek out other perspectives for your own business, because you're right, they're going to think of something you don't. Especially now, you know, I'm 43, my business is in their 20s. Yeah. They're going to tell me to start training. Exactly. Yeah.
You might not find things as training, you know, in your mind, but it's all about understanding, or maybe getting some feedback, even from your customers. I would put a suggestion box in it.
Yeah.
What would you like to see in it? Or is there anything else you should do to make your experience better?
Yeah.
These are like, every time when someone gets a tattoo, you get them to try and leave a review so we understand. Or even if they tell us it does. You know, like I had a client that come in the other day, he had a tattoo from one artist and a tattoo from another artist. Either 5. And I sat down with him, this American guy, you know, he's in finance, he's a smart guy. And he told me, you know, I love this tattoo. The guy's amazing. He's an artist. He spoke to me the whole time. I really loved that experience. He booked another one for £1,000 with that artist. He said, with this guy, there's some parts I want to finish, but I do not want to go back to him. Not that he's a bad artist. Maybe he's had an off day. He's not communicating with the client, and the client just felt isolated, or felt like the person was just tattooing them and wasn't communicating. Now, maybe he thought the person just wants to be left alone, and maybe he's in pain. Because I did speak to him and said he was in a lot of pain. That's why I was scared to speak. So they're both different views, but yeah, again, just speaking to the client allowed me to understand and speak to the artist. So going forward, we can give back experience.
I find it fascinating. This is clearly one of your skills. It's something you do. You're constantly looking for feedback and information fed back to you, which is really, really important as a business owner, especially as you said, if you want to evolve. Because if you don't do that, you're going to stay stagnant, you're never going to evolve, you're never going to grow. And I think that's a really interesting, I don't know if it's a skill set, it's more of a trait, I think.
I wouldn't say it's a trait. I would say it's more understanding that if you leave things for too long without noticing, like our diary has been, you know, a few years ago, it was quite slow, right? And if I didn't sit down with the artist and the admin, the section ladies, I would never know. If I didn't look at the diary to understand where we're at and find the solution was the admin lady wasn't doing their job properly. They weren't responding to emails properly. They were all going somewhere else because it was taking too long, so we sat there and bought a new one. And that was the solution. And now every Tuesday I sit down with my two sales ladies, I got two now, recently. And today we sat down, how many leads are coming? How many leads are coming? How many shoot goals? How many shoot goals? And that way they understand that we are on top of this. You know, and that way the diary will be more looked at. It's, I would say it's not a trait, it's more, not the solution, it's more a schedule and maintenance, I would call it. The toilet's leaking, we leave it for too long, it's just going to be flooded.
I completely share in that. I'm like, there's a problem, and fix it right away. You don't let it sit, you don't let it fester. If you do, it's only going to get worse. Problems don't get better.
You know what it is? We spoke about this earlier, is being here. If you're not in your business, people don't care. Yeah. And with all due respect, the amazing staff, they're watching this, I don't want to be thinking that. But they don't care as much as you do.
Yeah.
So you need to be here.
And it's not just about really caring as much as them. Especially in this day and age, talking about business. The owner of a business has never been so closely related to business as this day and age in history. Because now people talk about Tesla, they talk about Elon Musk, they talk about Amazon, they talk about Jeff Bezos. Warren Buffett, people know his name. You know, everyone's now putting faces to businesses more than they ever did in the past, right? Customers want to see our face as business owners. And I'm sure they want to see you there too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they want to see me there, but you know, as much as I do host when we get celebrities come in, and I might be in some of the videos here and there. I mean, I wouldn't know if they want to see me, but it's more the fact that the people that do want to see me in store know that I care, and I'll go out my way to make sure the experience is 100% satisfactory. What we got to go and do.
Makes sense. Now, I don't want to leave this out. And I know you mentioned it earlier, but let's get it on the camera. This is a coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
What's your coffee?
My coffee, if it's a hot day, will be iced caramel latte.
Yeah.
If it's a cold day, which maybe isn't it's a latte, sugar actually mixed inside, a little bit of chocolate.
You mix the sugar with the espresso or into the milk?
From the beginning, before we pour anything in, I would say.
Yeah, if you mix it into the espresso, yeah, it makes a nice like syrup, and then you put the milk into that. And where's your go-to coffee shop then?
Do you know what is this? Albanian called Light. And on North Road, honestly, every coffee shop, their coffee tastes like music. They don't want to invest in the right things, and this is another problem in business. But I mean, her coffee is amazing, and she's very busy, and she's getting more and more busy because her coffee is right, and she's polite, and she tries to spark conversations when you're there, even though when there's 500-600 people waiting.
That's customer service and good product.
That's it.
And in cases like you, go above and beyond. When we try to do the same here, if I want to show you the amount of detail that we go into behind here that people don't see, I'm talking about water filtration systems, I'm talking about plumbing, I'm talking about cleaning systems, all of this stuff that nobody sees.
I can see. I went to the kitchen right away.
Our kitchen is super clean.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw that.
my bathroom, apologies, it's not quite as nice as yours, but it's clean. You know, we really take care of it.
You know, when I did the bathroom, my idea was like, you know, the Nobu or Novikov toilets.
I've never been to one.
That's what we need.
I've never been to Novikov or Nobu. Maybe one day I will.
Nobu is on the best.
Really? But thank you very, very much for being on here. For me, it's been really a blessing to have you here. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
I hope it's of use to you as well. You know, it's good when things are mutual, not just benefiting one person or another person.
Well, you know, I always say, you know, podcasts are like a therapy session. And you kind of, you know, it helps you also think about the back of your mind where you're going and the things that you're doing. It's like a recap. So I enjoy doing it. So
Look, for me, it's been amazing. And I know the thing is, for me, it's No, I never found it easy in the first place to sit and work cameras and produce and all the mics and all this. I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable now.
Yeah.
But to begin with, I was really nervous. Even now, I'm still taking my CBD before I get in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, trust me, I do.
Yeah.
Still for me, it's easier than for you because you've come in here and you literally just put all your guts on the table.
Yeah.
And that can't be easy. So, I hope, as I said, that, if there is something for you. I'm glad you say you feel it's been like a kind of therapy session helpful because this is new for me and I don't want it to be one way ever.
No. It's like I said to you earlier in the store, if just however many people watch this, if just that one person that is struggling and has been where I have been, or they've been through some things, whether it's domestic violence or abuse or they've been to jail, just understanding that you can't sit feeling sorry for yourself, right? You have to just get over it and appreciate everything that's happened to you and use that as your strength to move forward. As long as that one person sees it and can take that step to opening their own business, to spending time with their family, to doing the right thing, I've spent my time wisely being.
I believe at least one person will impact me. Really. And on my side, as I told you, I actually came up with this little phrase, which I came up with in your shop when we were chatting. And I was like, I'm actually going to write this down and implement this. Because I was thinking, what is my podcast? What do I want with it? And then speaking to you, you said about wanting to reach one person. I'm like, for this podcast episode, that's great. But what do I want long term? And I realized what I said to you. I wrote it down. I'm like, I just want this podcast, this entire series, to just be one little nugget of truth in a world full of surrealism, bullshit, and lies. That's all I want it to be. I don't want to promise the world to anyone. I don't want to promise I can do something I can't. But if I can just be that one little bit of truth, I'm happy.
That's it. That's why they say God gave me ears to listen. So I hope it agrees.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
If you like this episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.